Kristi McKay, and welcome to my channel. In fact, welcome to my first video. I've been wanting to start a channel for a while now, but I have that perfectionist quality where I don't really want to start it until I look perfect, until what I want to say is perfect. And I've been watching a lot of other artists start their videos, and the thing I've taken away is just start, just be yourself, talk about you. That's what people want to know, is you. So I thought I would start a video today. I'll probably cry through this video, just ignore that part, but it's an important day for me. I started painting this year, and I started painting out of grieving, because a year ago today my mom died, and this is the first of my parents to pass away. And although I knew she was sick, it still was a very shock to my system. And I've been working on my paintings as a way to kind of heal myself through this terrible time of losing my mom. And this week was especially hard. I knew the date was coming up, and I'm reliving all those moments of her being in hospice. And the night before she went away, I didn't think it was going to happen the next day. I thought she was doing really good. The medications were the medication they were putting her on to make her comfortable was making her okay. And I thought we had more time, so I went away. A lot of my family was in town because they knew that she was in hospice, and usually that's a sign that it's not going to be long. But we all felt good, and we got together and had dinner. And the next morning, we walked in, and we were taking our time getting ready. We didn't rush over. But when we got there, the nurse met us at the door and said that her oxygen levels were decreasing rapidly, and that was a sign that her body was shutting down. And it was, to date, the worst day of my life was to sit next to her for the next 8 hours watching her die, waiting for her last breath to come. I held her hand, and at 6:06, she took her last breath. And I feel incredibly lucky to have been there. It was like a full circle. She was there the first time I took my breath, and I was there when she took her last one. And I had tissues handy. I knew I would need these. But it's been very hard. It's been hard to be without her. My brother had passed away 10 years ago, and so I felt pretty alone in this process. And I'm not the only one to ever go through this, but it's a very lonely process. But as I was grieving and not knowing what to do or where to put this energy, I began to paint. What I really want to do is paint because it makes me feel good. And so this week I thought, gosh, how can I honor my mom by doing a painting specifically for her? And so I thought, what are the things I miss most about her? And the thing I miss is when she did laugh and when she did smile, she had these sparkly blue eyes. And I wanted to capture that in one of my paintings. So I started and I mixed some paint, and I did a blue and a gray because her eyes were like mine, where when I'm wearing something blue, they look blue. If I'm wearing something green, they look green. If I'm wearing something gray, they kind of take on that gray color. And so I started mixing this paint, and my process is to put down a layer of paint and let it dry, and then put down another layer and kind of do these layers. And the first day I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, pretty. The next layer, I was like, oof, not liking it. It's not capturing it. And by the third day, I was in tears. I was like, this is a disaster. I can't even honor my mom the way I want to. And I was depressed and I was crying off and on all day. And I finally, I give up. I'm gonna go lay down, maybe take a nap and feel better after I take a nap. And I started flipping through YouTube, and I found this video, and it was from Jim Carrey, and he was talking about depression. And in his video, he talked about how he had been this kind of clown in his life because his mother had been sick, and all he wanted to do was make her feel better. And it made me start reflecting on my relationship with my mom, and how there were a lot of times in my life growing up where I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel good enough for her. She was very vocal about criticism, and I knew she loved me. We had a good relationship, but I honestly had a hard time feeling like I was good enough for her. And it was like this painting was sitting in front of me saying, you are not good enough. You're not good enough to do this. You're not good enough to honor her. And as I'm listening to Jim Carrey, he talks about this spiritual awakening that he had. And in this awakening, he realized that his life had been focused on being good enough to make his mom feel better. And when he started living his own truth is when he felt good enough for himself. And so I realized that I was still trying to get the validation from her. Almost a year after I know that there will be no other validation. I was just me, and she was my mom, and she loved me. And those feelings and those thoughts and those hurtful things I was saying to myself never really came from her. They were from me. And I had to live my truth and feel validation for myself. And I went back and looked at my painting, and I added more to it, another layer, and I kept working at it instead of just throwing it away and feeling like I'll never be good enough. And so I did it. I did it to a point that I'm happy. I feel good about it. I feel like I am saying, I love you. On the anniversary of your death. But in a way that I'm proud of myself. And it took me all this time to come to that. It is still emotional. But I wanted to tell you this story because a lot of my paintings, almost all of my paintings, are about finding love and validation and grieving and listening to my own story. And I hope that you will find the love and validation that you need in yourself. And maybe if you're inspired, you can like this video and subscribe. That's what I'm supposed to do as a YouTuber, is tell you to do that, because I need to get the word out that I will never get the validation that I've been seeking from her, but I can find it in myself. And so now I want to show you my final piece, and I'm calling it Her Eyes, because what I should have been doing this whole time is looking into her eyes and seeing myself as she saw me, which she loved. And I know she loved me, even if we weren't alike or didn't see eye to eye. We loved each other completely. And so here's the painting, and I hope you can see it. And it's, if you look at it, it's hard for me to show you, but if you look at it, you will see how complex and how many layers I added to this. And when I finally stopped, I saw the most miraculous and most beautiful thing that I hadn't noticed in it to begin with. And that there seems to be a little heart right there. And I don't know where that heart came from, except for my own heart and my love for her mom. So Mom, wherever you are, thank you for being my mom and for loving me, because that's really all I should have ever asked you for.